Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Niche. This is our introductory webinar on electronic invoicing in the UAE. So why are we here today? This is not an existential question. The question is why are we talking about electronic invoicing today? And that's because UAE has announced that all the businesses which are resident in the UAE who are supplying to other businesses or to government entities will be mandatorily required to issue their invoices electronically going forward. And this requirement is going to come out very soon. How soon? The pilot phase is expected from December 2025. This is based on the latest announcements. And phase one is expected to commence from July 2026. Therefore, in this session, we are going to talk about what is electronic invoicing, how does it work, how does it impact us as businesses, and how to comply with and benefit from the new regulation. Invoicing is the same. You are going to incur additional time and effort and cost to comply with it. However, if done properly, you're also going to benefit from the new regulation. There's going to be significant long-term benefit. We have partnered with a firm called Taxila. Taxila, a technology partner, has significant experience in e-invoicing around the world. And today, as a guest speaker, we have Venkat from Taxila.
For joining this awareness session on e-invoicing in UAE. So this is Venkat. I was a specialist in multi-country e-invoicing from very long time. So we are into this business from last 8 years. We are a global e-invoicing service provider where we do support 25 plus countries e-invoicing standing today. Our primary focus is UAE now, along with few other countries like Belgium and Poland, wherever the upcoming mandate. So we are significant player in e-invoicing, PayPal integration, and VAT reporting, tax compliance
Now going
solutions.
to talk to us about global perspectives on electronic invoicing based on their
So
experience.
e-invoicing is not something new in UAE. It is already adopted in many countries. So if you see a few country examples like India, Saudi, Malaysia. In India, it is from 2020, Saudi from 2021, Malaysia last year 2024. So there are different models of e-invoicing. There is clearance model, reporting model, CTC, DCTC. There are different models. So if you see in India, it's clearance. So what is PayPal e-invoicing? So many of you may heard PayPal very first time, but let me make it very simple for you. So PayPal is nothing but Pan-European Public Procurement Online. So what is Pan-European Public Procurement? So the name itself tells us that it's a European. See, all European countries adopted PayPal. First, it is started in European countries. Later, it slowly expanded beyond European countries like UAE, Singapore, Malaysia, Norway, and Australia. And very first country in Gulf, UAE is the very first country, followed by UAE. Oman is also going to adopt PayPal. So, what is this PayPal? So, mainly government companies who are operating in Europe, they make sure that they would like to exchange invoices via PayPal network. It means any of the company registered out of Europe, if they want to do business with any European government company, so in case if they have to send invoice, that invoice must be sent between PayPal network. They can't send invoices PDF or something. It should be in structured format, that too via PayPal. So all government companies made dictated the terms to their suppliers asking to send invoices via PayPal network. That's how it all started. Later on, it is recognized by government not only government companies, all businesses adopted the e-invoicing, and even few regulations, guidelines come into picture for this. So what is this PayPal in detail? If you understand, in PayPal you can exchange any document. Say it's an electronic document exchange. Not only need not to be invoice, it can be any document. So what are the documents you can exchange via PayPal? You can exchange two type of documents. One is pre-award, second one is post-award. So what is pre-award? What is post-award? Pre-award is nothing but before awarding the contract. So what all comes under before awarding the contract? Let's say for example NDA or agreements or purchase order. All this comes under pre-award document or quotations, whatever. So post-award is something once contract is awarded. Let's say invoices. Example in post-award, not only invoices, shipping document and other documents like e-way bills. All those comes under post-award. So you can exchange both pre-award and post-award documents via PayPal network. But in UAE, it is only mandated to exchange invoices. Standing today, it is only invoices, but at later stages, let's say down the line after 5 years or 10 years, then even every country will adopt PayPal to exchange every invoice. That is not only every invoice, sorry, every type of document. It can be pre-award or post-award. So it is a four corner model or five corner model. So what is four and five corner? I will explain in the next slide. There is someone should be authorized by the PayPal network to send invoices. You can't exchange invoices via PayPal network directly. You need to appoint some vendor that they call them as certified access points in PayPal terminology. Even you can call them as ASPs, accredited service providers, or certified access points, anything. So it should be in a structured format, which is pinned AE XML. What is the structured format? What are the fields? We will talk later on. But it supports all B2B, B2G, and cross-border transactions. So in case if you want to exchange invoices with any European company, you don't need to generate PDF at all. All mostly European companies will be on PayPal network. You can simply send invoice to them via PayPal network. No need to submit PDF. So not only for domestic transactions, to streamline cross-border transaction also PayPal is going to play major role. So in short, this is about PayPal
Let's now move
invoice.
into how does the five corner model work?
So there are two types, four corner and five corner, right? So what is this five corner and four corner? Five corner is nothing but in simple words, five parties are involved. So party one is seller, seller's access point, receiver's access point, in simple words, buyer's access point or buyer, or fifth one is FTA. You can see it on the screen. So let us take some simple example. How is this going to work? I will take example of telecom operators. In case if two people would want to exchange any messages between them, let's say for example purpose, let's say Nashida and Venkat. So Venkat is seller and Nashida is buyer, let us assume. So if Venkat wants to send any message to Nashida, what I will do, I will just open my mobile, open Messenger app, then I will put two recipient as Nashida's contact number and hi or some message, then I will click on send. Within 2 to 3 seconds, near real time, Nashida is going to receive that invoice. Sorry, that message, right? So, but what is the typical process behind it? Am I directly sending message to Nashida? No. What happens is first that message is sent to my telecom operator. So let's say my telecom operator is Etisalat. What Etisalat will do, Etisalat will verify whether the mobile number is valid or not. If that mobile number is valid, with which telecom operator that mobile number is registered. Let's say Nashida with Jew. So what happened that Jew telecom operator will submit that message to the Nashida. So it is not something Venkata and Nashida directly exchanging the invoices. Telecom operators are playing major role. In PayPal terminology, telecom operators are nothing but access points. So without telecom operators, can I send message to Nashida? No. So without access points, you can't exchange invoices with buyer. Access points are mandatorily coming into the picture. So now what is happening? This is four corner model where two access points, Venkat's access point as well as Nashida's access points is in the picture. Let's say for example, what going to happen is now government would like to see what are the messages that are exchanged between Venkat and Nashida. If government asks Venkat to submit that message, at the same time Nashida to submit that message, I may submit some message to X message to Nashida, Y message I may submit to FTA, which will not be in sync. What FTA has come up with, FTA wants telecom operators access point to submit that messages. So whose responsibility to submit that message to FTA or invoices to FTA means it is access points responsibility. You are not going to submit invoices to FTA directly. You will submit invoice to your access point. Your access point will further submit to FTA as well as receiver's access point. Receiver access point will submit it to the buyer. So receiver access point and buyer will be having an agreement whether receiver access point will send that invoice to the buyer or buyer may log into the portal and fetch those invoices. It is the agreement between both of them. But what is your responsibility? As a seller, your responsibility is to submit invoices to seller's access point, nothing but your own service provider in structured format. If you are unable to generate any structured format, that's a different story. There are many players who can help you to make sure that invoice is in structured format. They do further enrichment of the data, but sending invoice to seller's access point or telecom operators in simple way, it is your responsibility, and that access point will submit to FTA as well as receiver's access point. and receiver access point will submit to the buyer. So what is the written message seller is going to get once they submit to the access point? So how you will know whether that invoice is accepted or rejected? So as soon as seller access point submit that invoice to FTA, FTA will give them response either accepted or rejected. If they are rejected, they will give with proper error message why it is rejected. Similarly, once you submit to the receiver's access point, once seller's access point submit to receiver access point also will give you a response message mentioning that accepted and forwarded to buyer, accepted and not forwarded to buyer, and rejected. These are few things. We will talk what is accepted and forwarded maybe in the next further discussions. But there's a simple message that we are going to get from other access point. So whatever message we receive from other access point as well as FTA, that message we are going to submit to the seller in near real time, in I can say real time. So that is the proof for you that invoice is exchanged between all the parties. So why FTA wants to read all these messages or invoices that are exchanged between seller and buyer means FTA wants to make sure at any given point of time invoices with seller as well as buyer and FTA all are in sync. That's the main reason FTA would like to see this. And what happens, as Nashida mentioned earlier, this whatever invoices are received by FTA, submitted by other access point, they will automatically populate to VAT reporting. So this will streamline VAT reporting in near future. That's the reason this is coming into picture. So without access point, you can't exchange the invoices. That's the reason B2C invoices are optional standing today, as Nashida mentioned earlier. So B2C doesn't fall under e-invoicing. Why? Because if you go to any mall, if you procure any apparels or whatever, they will directly generate invoice and they're going to provide to you. Why? Because you will not be on the PayPal network. That's the reason B2C invoices are exempted standing today from PayPal e-invoicing in UAE. But at later, I think maybe after 5 years or 3 years, definitely even FTA wants every seller to send invoices to PayPal network after 5 years. It means buyer won't be accepting the
Now
invoice
let's
via
look
PayPal.
at the invoice data fields for a standard tax invoice based on the public consultation. This image is from the public consultation document, and you can see it lists every single data field that needs to be there on, on a standard tax invoice. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but just a few key points. There are 50 data fields that are required on a standard tax invoice, and they are categorized into 6 different categories. So you have invoice details like the invoice number, date, etc., seller details, buyer details, document totals, tax breakdown, and invoice line. Now, if you look at this picture, you can see that some data fields are in white and some are in gold. The ones in white are the ones that are already there in your current tax invoice, and the ones in gold are those which are not there in your current tax invoice. And you can see majority of them are white. To be precise, 35 of them are white and 15 of them are in gold. Now, you might think we don't have 35 line items in our standard tax invoice. Well, the reality is you actually do, but some of them may be combined with other line items. For example, buyer address or seller address. You may think of it as one data field, but it's actually broken down into maybe 4 or 5 data fields on a on a on an e-invoice. That's part of the structuring, part of the standardizing. So when we talk about introduction of electronic invoicing and the related assessment, the first thing that we will have to, one of the first things that we'll have to do and take a really detailed look at is the data gap. And data gap, both it will be in terms of what, the information that is not yet available, and also the information that is already available, because while the information may be available, it may not be in the format that is required by the electronic invoice. So we'll have to take a really deep look into data gap. The other point that you might notice, the other point that that can happen in certain situations is that your system may have the information, but it may be using different nomenclature. It may be using different names, which means we'll have to go into the system, we'll have to go into the fields in the system to understand whether a particular field in that system it meets the criteria that is required here. A lot of this, if you see, is related to your master data, the seller details, the buyer details, the item details, which means that there will have to be a lot of cleansing of your master data. You'll have to see whether the system has master data in the format and in the manner that electronic invoice requires. And if it doesn't have it, whether the system is capable of having it. If not, whether the ASP is capable of doing something different, or do you have to change the system? What do you exactly have to do such that you are able to comply with these requirements?
So finally, how to get ready for e-invoicing? First, you have to select an accredited service provider so that once we do impact assessment based upon the gaps that we identified, we will guide you whom you have to approach. That is one thing. Second one is further impact analysis. If it is required, see, if we do all the impact analysis in the beginning, here won't be chaos. If we are not doing any impact assessment directly, we are going and selecting an accredited service provider, then your understanding and their understanding will not be same. It will lead to chaos. Once it lead to chaos, your business disruption, all those comes into picture. So impact analysis is mandatorily required. Then in case something is missing there, always you have an option to uh, do with your service provider as well. Then identify right file format. See, XML, that is what something FTA proposed. If you can't generate XML, even though you can generate XML, you can't generate exactly as per FTA format. Then what is the solution? That file formats, integration method, something we have to analyze, and then we have to decide. Then we have to find out workflow for AR and AP. So why AR and AP workflow? So AR, currently you are generating PDFs and exchanging it with the buyer. Your resources or finance user are habituated to do that. It's a big change in the process. So we have to understand the workflow. Then in case of purchase, in many organizations, AR and AP team both will be separate. They don't talk even each other also. So what is the, we have to understand how it is going to impact on AP side. That is something we will help you to identify right workflow for that. Then finally, we have to do UAT. Then we have to get ready for pilot phase of e-invoicing, which is going to start from December 2025. So why pilot phase? This is something very interesting. So you may ask me, July 2026 is the mandatory. What is the advantage I'm going to get if I go ahead and start from December 2025, which is not at all mandate, which is a valid question. See, for that, the answer is very simple. If you are making a late entry into e-invoicing, let's say July 2026, right from the day one of it is mandate, you don't have time at all to fix something. If it is something is not working, you don't have any time. Your business it will disrupt your business. You can't send invoices or receive invoices. Uh, your cash flow will be impacted. That's the reason we recommend every company to go live right in the pilot phase itself, so that the advantage would be in when you go live with the pilot phase, the advantage would be if something is not working, you always have ample amount of time to fix something is not working. That's where our expertise, everyone expertise comes into picture. That's the reason we highly recommend, even though it's not mandatory for you, we recommend you to participate in the pilot phase.